Welcome back to America Right Now. It is time for our Patriot of the Week. Each Saturday, we honor folks who are making this nation proud, especially when they stand up for their constitutional freedoms. And this week, we salute 3 students who are fighting for their religious freedom. Incoming Liberty University first-year students Cameron Johnson and Luke Thomas, and another Virginia student and Army National Guard Private First Class Trace Stevens. Johnson plans to major in pastoral leadership. Thomas getting a degree in music and worship, and Stevens, religion. These 3 college students, however, have filed a lawsuit against the Commonwealth of Virginia for excluding theological studies from tuition aid. Representing the students, senior counsel and director of the Center for Christian Ministries, Ryan Tucker, joins me on their behalf now. Ryan, thank you very much for being with us. Give us a brief overview of what happened here and how it's possible that the state is going to allow aid for some basket weaving degree, but if it's a faith-related study, not so much.
Yeah, the state of Virginia has a couple of grant programs for students attending colleges within the state. So students can receive a certain amount each semester. We represent the 3 students you mentioned, 2 of whom just graduated, another one currently in college, that have or are applying for these grants. The problem is their majors have been deemed to be, quote unquote, too religious to receive these grants. So, if they were to major in, say, philosophy or even other religious programs, most of the time at secular schools, then those would be deemed okay, but not these.
Trace Stevens applied and then was denied a National Guard grant because his major was for religious studies. And he was told by his recruiter he would be able to get the grant to help him pay for a faith-oriented college degree. So is this kind of, because the Army National Guard is involved, is this sort of a federal policy or is it only a state policy?
Well, the Virginia Department of Military Affairs runs this particular policy. So the lawsuit is filed against these Virginia entities. And look, the government can't deny publicly available grants to students because it considers a student's chosen major to be too religious. If they had pursued a different degree, even at the same university, or a quote unquote approved religion degree at a secular school, then they would have qualified. But they didn't hear, and so we were forced to bring a lawsuit on their behalf.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. Cameron Johnson chose pastoral leadership because he believes that God has called him to pursue a life of service to the church in some fashion. But how does any state deny this, but then allow degrees that study for culture, which certainly can include faith and religion or anthropology? Isn't it is it a 14th Amendment issue? Talk to us about the theory of your case.
Well, it's a First Amendment issue. The First Amendment prohibits the government from excluding students from public financial assistance because they pursue certain religious programs. The Supreme Court has been very clear on this. In particular, in the last 8 years, we've had 3 cases that have gone up, and they've held that the government can't deny students otherwise available benefits simply because they chose a religious education program. The problem here is we've got these sort of arbitrary buckets. You've got one category that is somehow okay, and then another category that is deemed to be too religious. And if you fall in the wrong bucket, well, then you don't get the grant.
Are your clients concerned about retribution or harassment because they brought the suit? We've seen that before, unfortunately, in a number of cases where people stand up for their religious liberty. And I've got to think that these 3 people had to think long and hard before wanting to go to court on this particular issue.
Filing a federal lawsuit is a big deal. And as you mentioned at the outset, these are 3 young men just really beginning their careers. And so it took a lot of gumption, a lot of thought. But these are men that are standing on truth. They know that this isn't right. And we're very proud to stand with them as they pursue these constitutional violations.
Your organization is helping provide legal assistance for them. Or is this a more common situation than many Americans appreciate, where these aid programs kind of cherry pick when it comes to faith-related majors and degree programs?
Well, absolutely. I've been now at Alliance Defending Freedom for 8 years, and I've had many cases, and in fact have many cases pending right now where this is the issue. But as I mentioned, the U.S. Supreme Court has been quite clear on this subject, and I'm hopeful that the court sees it at the district court level here as well.
All right, we're going to be following this, but Cameron Johnson, Luke Thomas, and Trey Stevens, you guys, you're our Patriots of the Week. And I think a lot of people appreciate you standing up for religious liberty. Ryan Tucker, Senior Counsel for the Center for Christian Ministries and from the Alliance for Defending Freedom. We are definitely going to follow your progress. Best of luck to you. And thank you.
Thank you very much.